Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Killjoy Jake podcast. Today, we're talking a little bit about some upcoming slasher TV shows from Halloween and Friday the 13th. And I'm joined here with Slashing It with Matt. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good over here, man. I am super excited to talk a little bit about the brand new, recently announced Halloween TV show, as well as a Friday the 13th TV show called Crystal Lake. Is there one that you're more excited for, Matt?
I'm going to go with definitely Halloween. It's always been my favorite franchise. But, as we know, the Friday the 13th series, Crystal Lake, was announced first. And I'm getting excited for that because we haven't seen a film since 2009. And I will say that remake was great. So I want to see what they come up with next.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm excited. Well, let's kick this off with Halloween, because unfortunately there is less to talk about with this one. All we really know is that last October it was announced that Miramax had secured the rights to a Halloween TV show. How do you feel about that, Miramax specifically, picking this one up?
I'm kind of honestly glad that they won the whole bidding war on that, because I feel like so much of the Halloween series was in their hands anyway. So I don't feel like it's anything new to them. I feel like they're going to probably, I know it's going to be different directors and creatives and things like that, but I feel like they're kind of going to know what they're doing. So I'm excited that Miramax is the ones to do this. A24, their movies are great. I love their movies. I know what a Blumhouse movie is. I know what an A24 movie is, and I know what like a Miramax movie is, and they're all like their own kind of like fine tune.
Yeah, they have a certain flavor to them.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's like you kind of know what to expect, which is nice. Like having that familiarity I totally get that. I will say Miramax, through Dimension Films, was responsible for 5 movies already in the Halloween franchise: Halloween 6, H2O Resurrection, and the Rob Zombie movies. I didn't know this. They also produced the David Gordon Green ones, though.
If you're watching the movie, I especially remember it from Ends, you see the Miramax logo actually come up before the movie starts.
I forgot about that until that came up in my research, because those are two totally different time periods for the franchise in my mind, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. I get it too.
That makes me wonder, because with that announcement, from last October we were talking about, apparently THR details that it may be a linked universe between the movies and this upcoming TV show. So with that, do you think that this new TV show could have any relevance with the David Gordon Green trilogy we just saw? Any connections to that?
Well, I hope not, because if it has any connection to that, I feel like how could they bring Michael Myers back into that? You know what I'm saying? Just because they finally took care of him in that last chapter. And even though I was a fan of the movie, I don't want to see that continued.
I'm with you. I feel like that was very final. There's no way Michael's coming back unless he wants to be like a meat blob or a meat monster or something. No way. It's just not happening at this point.
Yep.
What do you want to see from the Halloween TV show, though? Like something just original, brand new story, or?
So I kind of wrote down a few things I wanted to see in this series. The first thing I put in all capital letters, nothing to do with Laurie Strode. I feel like that's been done to death. And I feel like if they want to bring her in with a couple mentions or something like that is to the past, that's fine. Another thing I want to see potentially is a focus on Michael Myers, potentially even before the murder of his sister. They could even start the episode from October 19th, 1957, the day he was born, and kind of do baby steps into his childhood. And I feel like that's something we've never seen before. I know we've seen things in Rob Zombies with Michael in the institution and things like that, but I would like to see someone else take that and not Rob Zombie, even though I love that movie as well. I feel like if someone maybe toned it down a little bit, because that, as we know, Rob Zombie, he's a very dark, and some of the dialogue he uses, it just doesn't necessarily fit the Halloween franchise. And then another thing, I said maybe have the series take place in 1979, a year after the events of the original, but have it focused on a new cast of members. Just maybe, again, bring up Laurie Strode, but let it follow a new group of teens or whoever Michael's after. Maybe even have it take place in Chicago. And the last thing that I have that I thought would be interesting is maybe make the series based on the unused sequel ideas that they use. There's a book with all the unused sequel ideas. Some of them are great, some of them are not. But I think maybe if they touch on that a little bit, that can bring something to the franchise we've never seen before. So there's so many different things that I feel like they could do. I've also heard that the director, I think his name's Dwight Little from Halloween 4, I think that's his name. He is interested in potentially doing a Halloween 4 part 2, and I thought that would also be another great idea. There's just so many things out there. Those were just some of my ideas.
Dude, no, that's, oh my God, that's great stuff. You're straight spitting right there, man. I love
Yeah.
it. I really like this idea of seeing Kid Michael, but not through Rob Zombie's eyes, because, you know, let's be honest, that's just a completely different version of the character
Right.
versus what we were introduced to back in 1978, the John Carpenter movie. So to see like a John Carpenter faithful recreation of like Kid Michael going through life and how he slowly turns into the monster that he becomes, that could be really fun. I would be very much so into something like that. Is there any like, would you want to see like the Myers like family, like the, you know, father, mother and all that be characters in this, or is this like beyond Judith's death? Sorry, it's a hard word for me to say.
I mean, I even like thought about this. Like, I didn't really focus on it too much, but I thought about maybe let's hear like how his parents met, Judith being brought in. But I'm like, you wouldn't want to focus too much on that with Michael not being in there. But when I say Michael is a child, I kind of talk about the whole family, not making it like a full on like drama type of thing. But it'd be interesting to know those characters, I feel, a little bit. And maybe not the entire series, but maybe give us like, I don't know, a first couple episodes doing that, and then maybe jump to 19. I don't know. You can mix so many things together, but I would definitely like to see something from his childhood that isn't Rob Zombie.
Yeah, no, dude, I agree. Trust me. No white horses, no Sherry Moon Zombie. Something else I would love to see with that is just Dr. Loomis, someone playing Dr. Loomis. How you get someone better than Donald Pleasance, I don't know, but someone playing Dr. Loomis talking with Michael, like how like that relationship goes from this doctor who's trying to help this troubled kid to the doctor being like, this is the form of the shape of evil. We got to stay the hell away from this thing. We got to burn it with fire. You know, how did Dr. Loomis go through that arc? You know, in that time period. I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah, me too. Because in the original, you know, you go from the night he killed his sister to 15 years later, and you just hear Dr. Loomis talking to Nurse Marion, and you don't get anything with him in the institution with Michael. It just happens like that.
Right, exactly. So to see all of that, you know, that all that progress, horrible progress being made, and how he just doesn't change. He does nothing can help him, you know, in all that time. Exactly. I would be so down for that. Now, you also mentioned a 70s set, like maybe 1979, a year after the events of the first movie. Maybe Michael is like, he's escaped. It's another kind of Halloween 2018 setup where it's a direct continuation from the original film. Is there anything you'd want to see in that specifically? Like you mentioned Chicago, so I was like, ooh, we're going to the big city with Michael. I'm into that.
Yeah, I'm just like, maybe, you know, maybe like he didn't stick around in Haddonfield this time. Maybe he did go to the big city. And I know that also kind of goes along with what I said about them using unused sequel ideas, because there was an unused sequel idea of Michael going to Chicago with Laurie Strode living in a high rise. Even though I said I don't want to hear any more about Laurie Strode, I think that would be an interesting concept. And he just maybe picks new victims at random, because if it just follows that first film, again, like the David Gordon Green trilogy, Michael and Laurie aren't related anymore. So I just feel like there's just so much they can do.
I agree with you, because I think something that has weighed down some of the other Halloween flicks is just the same setting. You know, it's suburbia every single time. And it works for a lot of these movies, don't get me wrong. But to see like just a change in location, especially something so drastic like the big city versus suburbia, it just breathes new life into it immediately, which I would argue is something Halloween needs right now.
No, it does. I agree 100%. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in H2O, but I mean, we need to see it again. Every other movie besides 3 has been Haddonfield. I agree with the switch up.
It makes H2O stick out for that reason. I really enjoy that one, even if the kills and the mask are a little goofy, whatever.
Yeah, I agree that mask was terrible, especially the CGI shot.
But... Have you seen the 4K of H2O, just out of curiosity?
No, I have not.
You know, I recommend checking it out. I liked the film more after seeing their restoration. They cleaned up the CGI. It doesn't look as bad. They put like shadows on the mask, so it doesn't look as like just so apparently not real. You know what I mean? Like that's how it looks in the original cut. Right. They fixed it up a little bit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's definitely better. It's an improvement. I can appreciate that.
All right, I'll have to check that out, because I do like that movie. I genuinely like it a lot.
It's good. I've heard, you know, nowadays a lot of kids just want to hate on it because they think they're cool. And I'm like, you know what, man? I love this movie. Come on. But is there any... It's good. It's fun, man. Yeah. So you said no Laurie Strode either. So you want to focus on some new characters.
Yeah, I feel like they've... I don't know. They've beaten it to a pulp by now. You know, we got a whole trilogy about her, even though, I mean, it wasn't completely about her. But I don't know. I just feel like let's do something different. I hear a lot of other fans say the same thing, so I think that that's what people want.
And no shade towards Jamie Lee Curtis, but I'm kind of with you
No,
here, man. Like
right?
I think that story, that's a story that's been told multiple times now in
Yep.
this timeline, and I'm ready for something else. Don't kill her off screen in a car crash like what was
No.
that, Halloween 4? Yeah,
Yep.
we don't need that, but I'm into doing something where it's just like, here's like Laurie Strode is still in Haddonfield. Now we're in Chicago. We're following whole new group of people in the
Yep.
late 70s just trying to live in Chicago, and they get attacked by Michael Myers. That could be fun. That could be
For
a whole
sure.
new take. You also mentioned a continuation to part 4, which is something that I hear a lot of fans clamoring for this, because as you and I know, 5 and 6 are a bit messy and don't really
Oh yeah.
continue the story in maybe the best way possible. What are your thoughts on a continuation to 4? What would you want to see them do?
I think that's the only expressive like interest I've heard of so far. Like someone the first like interest in that series was that. And I think that that would be great. I think Danielle Harris is a great actress, very underrated. I don't know why people don't like her. I think she's great. So if they brought her back to continue that story, I think it would be amazing. You could bring Rachel back. You could do so many things. You could take Tina out of it. You could just do so many things. Have that movie deserves a better follow up than what we got in 5. That
Yeah.
that movie was not good.
No, it's rough, man. I want, how you just want to love something because
Yeah.
it's like part of something that you like, but I just can't do that with 5, man. I'm like, this is just a bad movie. It's rough.
No.
But Danielle Harris would be so down. I think she would be so down to be in a TV show about Halloween. She loves this franchise.
Yep.
She's talking about it all the time on her podcast too.
Yeah.
I could see it happening. I would love to see something like that happen. And my big deterrent with that for the longest time was like, I just don't know, after what David Gordon Green did with
Yeah.
his Halloween trilogy, if they would continue from 4, because that's like,
Yeah.
you're asking people to watch technically 3 movies,
Yep.
right? Like that's a bigger ask. But maybe in the form of TV, maybe it's not that crazy, just because it's not like you're not expecting to get people into movie theater seats. It's like, this is
Right.
just a show that could exist on Peacock or something.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree with that. That's the only like defer would be is like people would know what's going on. They're like, this story's being continued and we don't know what this is. Watch Halloween 1, 2, 4 to kind of get what's going on. But I know he had mentioned if he was a part of this, he would want to call it Halloween 4 Part 2 to kind of, I guess, give indication you need to watch these films first. But I see what you're saying with that. That's the only thing I get kind of worried about, because you wouldn't have that fresh start that Halloween 2018 would have.
Right, and like even with Halloween 2018, like you kind of don't even need to watch the original film. Like obviously,
Right.
if you've seen it, it adds to the viewing experience big time. But like they run you through the motions of what happens. You know what I mean? They
Right.
give you everything you need to know just to watch that film. So I think it would be a little tougher to explain, like, okay, there was this character named Laurie Strode. She died in a car accident. Now we're focusing on somebody else. But maybe you don't have to explain that at all. Maybe you just can say like, this little girl is getting stalked by Michael Myers, who's now grown up.
Yep.
Maybe we could just
Yep.
say that.
Yep.
Maybe there's workarounds.
Yep, exactly. Like people like us, we would understand it, but like the average moviegoer, they're like, when they see Halloween 2018, they're like, "Oh, I thought he killed his sister," and I'm like, I just want to explain it to these people, but it would take half an hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could see them doing something like that in TV form. I would hope it would be successful, because I am one of maybe the fewer fans. I don't know how many people want this, but I would love to see a continuation to 4 that isn't 5 and 6. I'm here for it. But
Yep.
if we can get Paul Rudd stealing babies in there still, though, that would be great.
They tried getting him for Halloween Kills, which I think might have been a better pick, but I mean, it is what it is.
Dude, could you imagine him saying all the evil dies tonight stuff? Like, that would be
Yeah.
hilarious, man.
Yeah, and I like Anthony Michael Hall. He just didn't fit that role very well. I think he was just too over the top. They gave him the lines they gave him to deliver. It was just I don't know. I feel like it was too much.
Maybe it's just me, but I feel like he's too old. Like, is that a weird criticism? Like,
No, I get it.
because he's so young in the 1978 movie, and they
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I imagined like just not Anthony Michael Hall. He's not a bad actor, like you said, but I agree. I just don't feel like he's perfect for that role. Anyways, before we move on to Crystal Lake, is there anything else you want to throw out there about the Halloween TV show?
No, not really. It just I'm really excited for it. I can't wait for it. And like the first announcement we get for it, I don't know. I'm gonna be excited because I want to know what route they're gonna go down and like how excited I should be.
Yeah. Yes. And
Yeah.
let's, you know what, for for the sake of some Halloween fans, let's hope it's not about Corey Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I will say this, like, I liked Ends, as everyone knows, but I would like to see something different.
Now talking about one that I think is definitely going to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah.
Crystal Lake. Now this is coming out 15 years after Jason was last on the big screen.
Yeah.
And it's coming from showrunner Brian Fuller, who also did the Hannibal show. Have you ever seen that one?
The show, no. Most of the movies I've seen, but the show I never watched. I might have watched like the first episode, but from people that did see it, I heard it was pretty good.
So I'm in the same boat. I have not watched it, but I've heard nothing but good things about Brian Fuller in terms of like the shows that he's made. Like I
Yeah.
think he did like a Star Trek show as well.
Okay.
What all things I haven't seen, unfortunately. But I have a lot of faith in this guy for the same reason. I heard just nothing but good things about his shows. So on top of that, we also have him. So he's the showrunner. Kevin Williamson is going to be writing an episode. He's of course the screenwriter, and I know he did last summer, all that fun stuff. And then Victor Miller, the writer of the original film, is serving as an executive producer. So lots of big horror people on this project, which has me very excited for it. What are your thoughts on just the overall show coming and what the premise is going to be about?
Well, overall, again, I'm excited. Like I said, not as much as Halloween, but I'm excited. Like you said, some great creatives in there. I know I talked about how on the Halloween A24 wasn't going to be producing it, but I know they're producing this Crystal Lake series.
Yes.
But with the people they're working with, I feel like everyone's kind of in the right hands. So I guess I don't have anything to worry about on that end. But what I guess what I have to say about the Crystal Lake series and kind of what I hope to see in that is because I wrote some things down here because I have quite a few things, and then I know that they made a big deal to kind of say this is going to be a prequel series based on Pamela Voorhees. So with that being said, I hope first of all that I would like to see from this, knowing that fact, is I hope it kind of does like a flashback thing. Maybe showing Pamela Voorhees, maybe focus on her for the first episode, and then the rest of the episode kind of do flashback sequences, kind of like the Haunting of Hill House style type of thing, because I feel like they took care of the whole flashback thing very well, focusing on different periods of time throughout like one episode. I think that was great. So the first thing that I would want to see from them, and even though I don't want to see too much of Pamela Voorhees, I would hope that maybe if they're going to do that, the whole prequel thing, we get kind of some origin story on her. Before her son Jason was killed, drowned by these not drowned by them, but drowned because of them, because they weren't paying attention. I'm thinking, let's see if she was somewhat crazy before that, like why she would. I get it, her son was killed, but like, was there something wrong with her before that? Like, what was her life like before that? But not spend too much time on that. I also want to see maybe like somehow, I don't know how they would do this, but maybe like current day killings with Jason. So like maybe first couple episodes prequel Pamela Voorhees, and then maybe jump forward 30 years to like more current time. And I guess I'm kind of like, I don't know, like contradicting myself with that, because I'm kind of like naming all these story elements I want to see, but at the same time I don't want to see too much story. I want to see a lot of kills, and I want it to be fun. So if they, I guess basically what I'm saying, if they can kind of mix it up and give both the best of both worlds, I'm down for that.
I totally feel you, and I 100% hear you on the Haunting of Hill House flashback idea.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like that for whoever ends up playing our young Pamela, you know what I mean, raising young Jason. I could totally see them doing stuff like that, building on the flashbacks with each episode, and giving us a bigger idea of what the painting is going to be here, putting more jigsaw pieces in with each episode. That could be a lot of fun. I'd be here for that, as long as our main story is like Jason killing camp counselors in the 80s or something, right? That could be fun. I'd be here for that. And I want it to be like a period piece, right? Like you get to see it's the 60s, right? Like the 60s specifically, when she's like killing everybody who's the camp counselors who weren't paying attention, and then flash forward to 1979, 1980, whatever.
Right.
When Jason starts to kill. That could be really cool. That feels like it's based off of the original property, but is also expanding upon it to show us just like Jason killing people, which, like I said earlier, 15 years, man, since we've seen that on the big screen. A lot of Friday fans, I think, are going to be disappointed if we don't get that in the series.
I agree with that huge like time lapse. Yeah, people want to see Jason back on the screen. I get that.
Absolutely, man. And we have so many people who are like maybe are involved, maybe involved. Rumors are flying like crazy. Adrienne King is said to be starring in it. She's of course the final girl from the original film who gets killed at the very beginning of the second
Yep.
one,
Yep.
which is nuts. Tom Savini is also rumored to be doing effects, who he did like the effects of course on the first one and final chapter.
Yep.
And then I don't know, man. Who else could possibly show up? There's so many Jason actors out there that I'm sure will have cameos or maybe even appear as the titular killer or whatever. What
Yep.
what are your thoughts on all that? Because we have CJ Graham who does Comic Con like appearances and all that. Kane Hodder, same
Yep.
situation. Who else do you think is going to show up in this one?
I think it would be great to see Kane Hodder. I also like the guy who did the 2009 remake. I think his name's like Derek Mears or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
he was really good. That to me, that Jason was the most threatening, the most scary. I loved that movie. I thought it was great. So if you do maybe kind of like maybe like bring in a few of them, even just like take turns doing episodes. I don't know, but I think I probably would put it between those two to play Jason. I don't know who they would do to play Pamela Voorhees. I know the original actress died a few years back, but I mean they're creative. They could figure something out. So I'm like, I don't know. And like what they're gonna do cast wise for counselors, like maybe they'll do like up and coming actresses and actors. I don't know. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do. Hopefully they get some decent names in there.
I hope so, man. It's A24. They usually cast really well.
They
This is
do.
some. If there's two things you can expect from an A24 thing, like even if like it's a project you don't like, which trust me, there's a lot of those I'm not a big fan of.
Yes.
But casting and music tends to be very consistent with them. Like I love the scores in all those movies. I love the way they cast films. So I feel like that should be the same here in TV. I wanted to ask you though, have you seen any A24 like specifically their shows? Because I have not.
No, I have not. What actually like what are a few that they've done?
So like the biggest one is Euphoria.
Oh, see, you know what? No, but wife's been trying to get me to watch that, so I think we're going to.
I honestly I kind of want to watch it now too, just to get an idea of like what their approach is with television. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's similar to how they make their movies, right? Like, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I would assume they have kind of the same style. I didn't know they had anything to do with that show.
Yeah, I believe that's like one of their biggest shows. I can't remember if they did that like the weekend show or not, but I remember it was like the same guy that ran Euphoria, so maybe not off the
Okay.
top of my head, I can't remember. Do you kind of know what I'm talking about? Like that show with the weekend and Lily Rose Depp. I can't remember the name of it off the top of
Would
my head.
you say that show was like terrible?
I heard it was
If I'm thinking about the
terrible.
right show. Okay, I think that's the show I'm talking. That I think I know what you're talking about. And if it's the same one, I heard it was really bad.
I've heard, I've heard the same thing, and I'm like, I really hope that
Yeah.
wasn't A24, so that we don't have anything to
Yeah.
worry about. But who knows?
Right. Exactly.
But I guess like just honest thoughts on the idea of do you really think that this is going to be something balanced between Pamela Voorhees' origin story and adult Jason killing people, maybe like in a present or a modern day, so to say? Like, do you think that's possible, or do you think it'll just focus on Pamela's backstory?
I think they're gonna somehow do both, and even if it's like maybe the first season focuses on Pamela, I know at some point they're gonna bring Jason into it. I really don't see them leaving him out. Like you said, it's been a 15-year time span since we've got anything, and I think a lot of these creatives, not all of them, but I think a lot of them, do their best to listen to fans. At least I hope they do. And I think they're going to somehow involve him in one way or another. Maybe not as much as we want, but I feel they're gonna somehow format it to where he does fit in.
I really hope so, man, because I think I look at all of these people who have been involved with the franchise like since the 1980s or whatever, and I've met a lot of them at at
Yeah.
cons, at just walking around horror conventions, whatever, and like they're so nice, they're so talented in these movies. I'd love to see a lot of them come back,
Mhm.
especially playing Jason again. And how fun would that be, especially after Halloween 2018? Some of these newer movies bring back like Nick Castle from the original to play Michael Myers again.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I think that'd be great. I would love that. It's nice to see when like the originals come back to portray that role so many years later. I think it's great. I think it brings more people in, especially the fans from back then. And I think I think it's doing the right thing. Like I feel like we'll get some like I feel like it fits in for like nostalgic reasons. It's going to bring in new viewers. I feel like there's just so much good in doing that because it brings so many different types of fans together.
Absolutely, man. No,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And I hate to end this on a sour note, but but there is another thing I want to bring up about this. This is going to be a Peacock original, which I don't know what your thoughts
Yeah.
are on Peacock originals, but I have seen at this point one that I've liked, and I've been through a couple of them. Do you have any concerns, any worries about specifically this being like an original like an original series for a streaming platform, which are notoriously like some of them stand out, don't get me wrong, there's cream of
Yeah.
the crop shows, Stranger Things, Euphoria is even one of them. Are you worried that this is going to suffer in quality for that reason though?
You know, I have also never seen any Peacock originals. So that I mean that makes me a little nervous because they're not like the biggest streaming platform out there. Like I feel a little more confident maybe it like went to Netflix or like Paramount Plus or something like that. But I hope it's in good hands. Like I said, I think with the creatives out there, I think it's going to be in good hands. But I hope that it brings in a big enough audience. And I don't know if like necessarily Peacock can do that. But I think since they started doing like they back in 2021 they put Halloween Kills in on Peacock while it was simultaneously playing in the movie theater. I think that brought a lot of horror fans to that platform. So I hope that sticks and that's what we continue to get.
And that's a really good point too. That's something I
Yeah.
didn't even think about. It's like there's a lot of horror fans probably that still have Peacock, and want to
Yep.
see more horror themed content. Ted is, I don't know if you've seen the Ted show yet or not, and
No,
what your
I've been
thoughts are on
seeing
that.
advertisements for it, and I heard you even talk about it a couple times, and you said it was really good.
I personally loved it. I had a great time with it. I thought it was sick. But what I will say is that's the first Peacock original where I was really impressed by it. Like just for me personally, I know there's a lot of people really like that movie Sick that Kevin Williamson had some involvement with. That was a big. I believe that was a very big hit for them. And Twisted Metal is another one that a lot of people seem to really like with Nev Campbell, Anthony Mackie, Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I can't think of her name in real life. But it's got an excellent that's got an excellent cast too. I recommend all these shows. I wasn't crazy about those last two I talked about, but that Ted show, man, it's a blast. It's a good laugh at the very least. So let's hope it's something good though.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping for it, and I do think like they've been talking about this for a long time in the horror community. So I think like even if we didn't have those Halloween movies streaming on Peacock, I feel like the anything related to Friday the 13th at all is going to bring viewers in, and I hope they like it because it's something I hope gets several seasons without pushing it out too far. You know what I mean?
This is definitely going to be an event, I think, is
Yeah.
what we're stumbling upon here. That's 100% going to be the case. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, this is going to be really exciting for Friday fans who've been waiting 15 years, just to see something. So, no, I'm definitely with you there, man. But overall, between these two, you said you were a little more excited for the Halloween TV show.
Yeah, yeah, just because that series is a little bit like closer to my heart than Friday the 13th. But I'm, like not obviously not equally, but like I'm still excited to see Friday the 13th. That's something I'm going to go into planning on watching every episode. But for some reason, I don't know, Michael Myers stands on top for me.
What I want that was kind of my follow up question there. What's your biggest like difference between Halloween and Friday the 13th? Then like that makes Halloween more favorable.
I think it was just because I was introduced to Halloween first. I first Halloween movie I ever watched was Halloween H2O, and I didn't even know it was
Nice.
a sequel to anything. I was 10 years old when that movie came out, and from there, I then saw the original 1978 one. Someone in my class let me borrow the VHS tape, so I watched it. And I'm like, oh, this is the first one. This is the movie they're talking about in Halloween H2O. So then I started like consistently watching the movies after that up until Halloween Resurrection. And that was the first Halloween movie I've ever seen in the theater. So I was like, okay, this is really cool. And I focused so much of my attention on Michael Myers. And then I just sprinkled in some like Jason movies here and there. So I think it's just because I was introduced to that first. And I also like the suburban setting more than I like the camp setting. So I think like that has something to do with it too. I don't know. I just connected with Michael Myers more.
That's scarier, right? Like Michael coming into your home. Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's a more usual setting, I think, for people versus like a camp somewhere out in the middle
Yeah,
of, New Jersey or whatever. I totally feel you there, man. Like that
yeah,
makes a lot more sense. Michael coming into your home, that's terrifying.
yep,
There's a home
yeah.
invasion element to it.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, okay, you're scared that something like that's going to happen at camp. Don't go to camp. Like, you can't just leave your house. You can't leave your neighborhood. You're going to fear for yourself and your neighbors. And it's like, there's nothing you can really do about that. It's like, just don't go to camp with Jaws. Don't go in the water. I mean, there's not much you can do with Freddy Krueger either. You got to go to sleep. But.
Right. I think like making a villain harder to avoid makes it
Mhm.
scarier. That's why I think, Freddy Krueger, like you just said, like that's the scariest thing. Like that's not invading your home. That's invading your brain, your dreams. Like
Yep,
that's terrifying. Like, oh my God,
exactly.
it's claustrophobic. It feels like I feel suffocated by a villain like Freddy Krueger. That's great stuff.
Yep.
Um, yeah. I don't know, man. I'm very hyped for both of these shows. Is there anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap up this little podcast, though?
Not really too much. Like I said though, like I'm just excited, especially for that Halloween. And I kind of want to know, like, kind of get like clues as to where they're going with it. I don't even know if they know where they're going with it, but I hope to get someone signed on very quickly and we can kind of get like inklings of like what their plans are. I know it's going to be a while before, we get anything, but I hope whoever does it, takes their time, listens to the fans, and comes up with something great. One thing I hope they don't do is like something Halloween 3 did, and it has nothing to do with Michael Myers. To me, that I wouldn't watch, but hey.
And that is something to worry about right now, though, man. I mean, it seems like that might be a route that they take.
Yeah.
It's been described as like an anthology series, something that may or may not be connected to the movies, its own kind of separate universe. Do
Yeah.
you think it could be like that? That's another question I wanted. I forgot to bring this one up.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that they do something? And me personally, I'm with you. I don't want to see this. Would it be possible for them to do like that jukebox of horror thing that John Carpenter had pitched for the franchise originally, where it's a new movie every single year called Halloween with a brand new concept, but do it in the show in the style of a TV show where it's like every episode is just a new style of something each week. No Michael Myers.
I feel like when they did Halloween 3 back in the 80s, if that film was successful, I think, which it is now, it's gained more of a following, but back then it wasn't. And I think if they were to do that now, it wouldn't work. Because we have, to me, if they did something like that, it would just be like any other Halloween movie or show, like Trick or Treat, like Hellfest. Like there's so many different movies out there that could be technically called Halloween, but be an anthology type of thing. And I don't feel like that would work now. But back then it would, because I think Mustafa Akkad back, when he had his hands, like he was basically what Malik Akkad is now. I know he took over after his dad passed away, but he said, no, we need to go back to Michael Myers. And he was very strict about Michael Myers. And I think since they did that in 1988 with Halloween 4, I don't think that they can backtrack now.
And I agree. I feel like, Halloween is Michael Myers. We got to keep it at
Yeah.
that. I can't see them calling it Halloween and then just not having that again. We've
Yeah.
made that. I love Halloween 3, but that was a mistake. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
flopped at the box office. People were pissed that it didn't have Michael in it. I don't feel like they'll make that mistake again personally.
Right.
But man, I real quickly before we wrap this thing up, slashing it with Matt. You're doing that over on TikTok, and you said you're maybe starting to come into the realm of YouTube a little bit.
Yes, it's something that I've been like thinking about constantly. I've been wanting to really get back into it. The room I'm in now, I'm gonna be completely like redoing it. It's just a room in my house that like my kids don't play in, we don't even use. And I'm basically doing this room to look like the Myers house in Halloween Kills.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. I'm going to be doing like the same elements, the same decor, and kind of adding like some of my own touches to it. But for some reason, like I never even liked the color green, but seeing that house in that movie, like, I don't know, to me, it like, I don't know, I want to bring that into a room in my own house and do like my videos in here and things like that. So
Dude, yeah.
I really want to like focus this room on that interior. I don't know why. I love the way they did that house in that movie, and I want to like kind of bring it to my own house, but just in this room. So, because it wouldn't match any other room in my house. But yeah.
Dude, I bet it's gonna look cool, man. I love all the posters and stuff you got on the background as well. That's sick.
So I have some of them. I have a lot more. So I'm going to be doing like adding a lot more. I'm going to be putting curtains up, like getting some new like touches, set up like a desk area. We have a computer now, so I'm going to try to get a better microphone. So I'm going to be my plan is hopefully within the next like month or so, really like hammer some videos out, really go on to TikTok more, do reviews on there, that type of thing. I really want to get into it, but life has just been so busy. And this like videos, horror, it's my passion, and that's really what I want to start focusing on going forward.
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. It's
Yeah.
and it's tough. It's one of those things where it's like you just got to start doing it and not stopping.
Yep.
And that's a much harder thing to do than to say, right? It's one of those. It's like, oh my god, it's so much work. It's crazy, but it is so worth it, and it's so much fun. So, man, I wish you nothing but luck. And if you have any questions, anything, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I probably will, because like your channel is like one of the first ones I found when I started going out of YouTube, and like consistently, watched you with a few others, and you've grown a lot. Like I think when I first started watching you, you had like 11,000 subscribers, and now you're up to 22. So I'm like, that's great. That's a big jump.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's been fun. We're still growing, we're still making this thing happen, and it's just exciting, man. And I wish you nothing but luck too, doing the same thing. It's so much fun, and anyone who can hop on, just do it. Make it happen. It's great. We love adding voices to the conversation and all that. So hell yeah, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, make sure to go check out Slashin' It with Matt's page on TikTok and YouTube. Correct?
Well, on TikTok, it's actually called Everything with Matt, but I think I'm going to maybe change it to Slashing It with Matt. I kind of got to decide like what I want to do on there, because everything I do on there isn't always horror. I kind of like mix it up and things like that. So I have to really see how I want to focus on that page.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Set focus and like compartmentalize what kind of content you want to make. Because if you want to talk about other stuff, dude, like just start up another page.
Yeah,
there you
right.
go.
Because like with TikTok, it's so much easier to get views on there than it is YouTube.
It is.
From what I heard, is just very difficult. I hear like the algorithms are hard. Like and even with TikTok, like if you take like a 3, 4, any day longer break than that, like the viewers go down. They just don't push your stuff out.
Yeah, no, it is very tough. TikTok it's just a whole different animal, like in terms of like making money and and getting monetized and stuff. It's strange, but I mean it's also very doable there too. It's fun. They're both very weirdly different platforms, and we're seeing people. Sorry, I'm getting into my whole YouTube thing.
No, that's okay.
We're interestingly enough seeing people move from YouTube over to TikTok a lot more. It's a lot more common, which I think is like kind of crazy. It used to be like YouTube was the place everyone like fell back to, and now once again just the tides are shifting. It's weird. It's ever changing. You're never truly an expert, and if you ever do believe that, you're gonna get kicked in the ass because like something's gonna change. It's crazy. Like it really is a lot, but it's fun. It's almost like a video game. That's how I see it.
Yep.
All right, but I'll shut the hell up.
No, you're good. You're good. It's like it's all like good information you're giving, and it's like the thing that sucks like with like TikTok, like the stuff I was doing on there, there's so much negativity. Someone always has something nasty to say, and it's like I'm a big believer, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's like I don't know, there's trolls out there, people that are mean, and it's just like you just got to ignore that stuff.
You do, man. Like you can't let that pay any mind on your conscience and all that, because people will just say shit to say shit. I don't go on Reddit anymore. They don't like me. They don't. Reddit does not. I said one thing about like I don't really use Reddit one time, and now like they just absolutely hate me. It's wild. So you never know.
It's ridiculous. Like when I try to be nice, I'll be like, well, thank you for the views. It helps the algorithm, and leave it at that.
Yep. Yeah. That's what you gotta. That's what you gotta leave it at, man. You gotta kill it with kindness. That's all it is. Well, Matt, thank you again so much for joining me, man. Once again, everybody, make sure to check out Slashin' It with Matt. Check out Everything with Matt on TikTok. And again, thanks for joining me. Thanks for talking Halloween in Crystal Lake.
Yeah. No, it was a good time. Thank you, guys.
Hell yeah. Thank you all for listening again, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.